Hey everybody, welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, I'm joined by the great Chris Schaefer. Chris, how's it going today?
Good.
Good. I'm glad it's going good. We are here humbly to constantly learn and evolve our skills with Google Ads. And today we're going to be talking about search impression share columns. We have also discovered that these are sometimes referred to as competitive metrics, and that's a very attractive word to people because they always want to know what their competition is up to in Google Ads. We're going to be going through those columns, talking about how we use them, maybe how we don't use them, and if there's anything else we should be doing. But I think, Chris, the reason why we wanted to do this episode is because they keep making more and more and more impression share columns. At least it seems like that.
Yeah.
And there's probably some stuff that is worth looking into and getting a refresher on. Have you noticed that as well, that there seems to be more and more your share of this, your share of that, you suck versus your competition, spend more money kind of vibes going on?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. For a couple of years ago, it was the explosion of, the Google Ads moment metrics, which were like,
what happened to the moments? What happened to those? It seemed like that went away.
The moment's over. It's over. The moment's done. But yeah, we had the moments, we had the interactions and the views and things like that. You know, it said interactions and then it said clicks right underneath it. So it was like a quick little rebranding of things. That was the Google Ads moment that they were pushing. But yeah, now we have some hardcore stuff. I mean, even the words like search lost top IS rank, like that is a mouthful, you know? Like that is what does that even mean?
I think the point of all of them, and it does seem to work psychologically.
Got to sound smart.
Can you say that, Chris?
Psychologically.
Hold on. I got to say it.
You got, boom. The Texas.
I'll get it off my chest.
Poem.
Here's the thing,
psychologically.
Chris, I think faster than everybody.
Absolutely.
And people don't know it because I talk slow. I do talk slow. I talk real slow. And if anybody's going to do 1.5 on the speed of this podcast and I get wind of that, I will slow it down even more. So you're back at 1. Like Brian McKnight. Chris won't get that. Other people will. Chris, I talk slow. I think really fast. But I see their words wrap around my head by the time I process them. And so it's not only going out, but it's coming in. But here's my beef with the world. Everyone's in such a rush and for whatever, and the attention spans are so short these days that I talk to people, I give them gold that can change their life. And before I'm done talking, I can see their faces losing interest, like getting distracted and losing attention. And then a lot of time I get interrupted as well. And it's a pet peeve of mine. I've explained this to my wife. I called her on it yesterday. I said, you remember what I was saying, how I get annoyed by everybody who does that? You're doing it right now. And she said, sorry. Because she wasn't listening. And if people would just listen to me, everything would be fine. But they're so distracted. And yes, I talk slower than some people.
Yeah.
But I think faster than everyone.
Wow.
So what are we to do about this, Chris?
Just believe you, I guess.
Is there anything wrong with talking slower than people who talk really fast? Blah, blah, blah,
No,
blah, blah?
I think it's
What's wrong with it? Why does it get a negative connotation?
It's a sign of wisdom to say less words.
Is it also a sign of success that you can slow down a minute?
I think it's a sign of
what you're doing.
I don't know about success. I don't know about someone that talks having it, but I would say it's definitely a sign of knowledge if you can say things very complex in a simple way.
I like that.
But that doesn't have anything to do with speed. So
Well, we have a good speed together.
Yeah.
You're a little faster than me. But one thing I appreciate, because you're from Texas, I'm from Oklahoma, when I talk to you and give you great wisdom that changes your life, you don't interrupt me. You don't go like this and just glaze over because you get distracted. You're able to hang with me here, and I think it has changed your life for the better, has it not?
Oh yeah. I mean, even if no one listened to this show, I would still want to do it because I pursue very little knowledge outside of what you feed me. And
I can confirm that.
Yeah.
I can confirm that.
I mean, I don't go and read blogs. I've maintained my silo, and I open this little window to talk to Jason. Hey, what's
I flood
on?
it.
What's on?
I flood that window.
Yeah, you talk, and then I shut it again till next week. So
then you decompress for a week.
yeah, I sort through it, and yeah, so absolutely.
Have you noticed that when you talk, do other people interrupt? Do they lose attention fast? Is it hard? Does it feel like people are on edge when you talk to them and you've got to get it out before they change interest or interrupt you or whatever? I've noticed that a lot lately.
Yeah, it depends on the person. If the person is actually, that's a good point. If the person's a highly successful person, thinks they know a lot about a lot of things, and some big CEO, I'm talking to some big owner of something, they don't really have time to hear me talk about Google Ads because they don't care. They're just going to pay me to do it. And they don't really want to hear the explanation. They just want it done. So that's usually when it happens.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty common. Important people don't necessarily have time for the details. So, which I understand. Let me tell you guys about what keeps this podcast going is a little secret called Opteo. Okay. Many of our listeners have tried it, which means about 1% of the Google Ads universe has tried it so far. So we have a long way to go to spread the gospel about Opteo. Opteo is the smarter way to manage your Google Ads accounts. And if you go to opteo.com, you'll be presented with a great little blue button that says start your free 30-day trial. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that you can go to opteo.com/PSP2 and try it for 8 weeks for free. You get double the time. And this is great because you can choose to go through 2 cycles. The first of the month is over now. Talked about that last week. It helps you get through that first of the month time period. Now comes the normal rest of the month grind, getting through, making sure the next conversation you have with that client is going to work well. That's what this tool is designed for. It's helping you to grow your clients, improve productivity. And I'm not talking about just plain optimization. It's not a let us handle it for you kind of tool. It's a, hey, we respect your knowledge and we want you to make good decisions and we're going to help you make those decisions. Lots of ways that assist you in management. I'm not for a tool that just says, hey, we made 6 changes to your account today. Here's what they are. No, they have suggestions, developments, improvements. This is a smart tool for smart people. So try it out, opteo.com/PSP2, opteo.com/PSP2 for an 8-week free trial. Hit the little chat button on the bottom right-hand corner and tell them, hey, heard about you on the Paid Search Podcast. Can I get my 8-week free trial? And they'll hand it over because that's the agreement.
Thanks, Chris. I've got a 5-star review to read from you from Colby from the United States of America. 5 stars, exceptional podcast and host with the basic information. I spent an hour figuring out how to do this review as use Android because you so deserve a great review.
There we go. Wow.
So that's the way he wrote it. I very much appreciate your wonderful next level informative podcast. This is entertaining. That is entertaining as well. Well, Jason Rothman is a 10. Chris Schaefer is an 11. So someone's got a little crush, I guess. Yeah. I don't know what that's about.
Well, can I say I pay a lot of people a lot of money for my fan base, Not
a lot of people. So
just a few, enough to leave a review. Thank you so much for the review. That I can certainly appreciate that. I've had a lot of people tell me, hey, you guys do great work. But I don't use Apple products. I don't have an iPhone. I don't use iTunes. And people like that use Android, that go out there and take the extra step, I really appreciate it. That's really, obviously an extra step they didn't have to do. So it's really nice of you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it does help. So thanks for doing that. Now, Chris, go ahead and, slide across my lap, move over to the captain's chair. I'll slide to the co-captain's chair. You're taking over here.
Yes, sir.
And let's get into these impression share columns.
Competitive metrics. Competitive. It's a sexy term because we're all in the race to win. And the number one question that people ask is, how are we doing? Well, it's number two, actually. Number one is actually, why isn't my phone ringing?
Are you single?
Dadgummit. Why isn't my phone ringing? Dadgummit, you're fired next month if you don't get 16,000 more calls and leads and just keep the phone off the hook. Number two is...
Then you say, how big's your budget? And they go, 300
a month. There, exactly. Oh, sure. Absolutely. No problem with that. That's plenty. So the next question is, how are we doing compared to all the other guys? What are our competitive metrics like? And this is one of the best ways to determine that, to see how you fare around everyone else. Now, I would say that impression share, competitive metrics is a unique aspect of Google Ads because, a lot of other things, if you're in the display or you're advertising on mobile apps, you're in a world of endless impression volume. Most accounts are going to be just swamped with the potential impressions, the potential volume they could get. Because we're in Google search, there is typically a finite amount of volume. It's not ongoing forever. There's only a few things out there that just have endless searches that take massive budgets to even really get far at all in it. But there are plenty of smaller ones where you can start with $300 campaigns, $3,000 campaigns, and get a significant impression share on things, especially for local campaigns. So it's a great tool. It's very unique to Google Ads, and it's incredibly valuable for making decisions about the most common things, about what your CPC should be. Is my CPC too low, too high? That has to do with ranking and how fast is your budget being drained. There's all kinds of things. So that's what we're going to talk about. And I think we should start it off with just the most basic number, search impression share.
Yeah, so Chris, search impression share is the impressions you've received on the search network divided by the estimated number of impressions you were eligible to receive. Eligibility is based on your current ads, targeting settings, approval statuses, bids, quality. Impression share data is updated daily. Now, a couple things for people out there. Chris and I would think it's safe to speak for you, Chris. We never look at search impression share day of.
Oh, good point. Sure.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
That data, we never take it as fully loaded in there the day of. So you're always looking at yesterday or further back. And then second thing to note with all these columns, if it says search, that means search just for the beginners out there. So it's for a search campaign. If you have a blended campaign where there's some search and some display, that's only for the search part of your campaign. And then also with all these columns, everything is date range related. So you always need to be focusing on your date range, and whatever date range you have set, that's the data you're going to get. So first, search impression share, Chris. How do you describe this to clients? Basically, I'll put it this way. I say, of the overall market for your searches, the times your ads run, the topics you run on the keywords, the area you run in, out of the overall market of searches, this is the percent that you showed up on.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah.
I think
you said it right there. One thing to immediately determine or convey is to mention that it's a percentage. This is a number that goes to 100 and then stops. So that's very important. The word search impression share it doesn't say search impression share percentage. It says search impression share. So it is a percentage number, and the percentage number is broken into 3 parts. So we can't talk about search impression share without talking about the other 2 as well. But the way that I describe it, I always like to paint a word picture, and I say, your market is a delicious pie of some undetermined type. I like coconut cream.
Meat.
What?
Meat.
Coconut cream. Let's go with something people can relate with. We're not in
A meat
Britain.
pie.
We're not in Britain eating meat pie.
I want to go to Ireland and eat a meat pie. I was watching somebody feed Phil. He went over to the UK.
Oh, well.
They had a pie.
Okay.
It was full of meat.
Okay, well, not for me. I'll go with coconut cream. It's pretty good. And there's only so much. You get all these other
Dude,
hands.
last night I had fried coconut shrimp. How crazy is that? I had coconut shrimp. You said coconut cream pie. Oh my gosh.
Gosh.
That is crazy. Can I buy you a drink?
Jason, it's only Thursday. It's not dating time yet.
Okay. But isn't that crazy? Wasn't that meant to be?
No, it's not. Search impression share. So it's a pie. Okay. So you got all these other hands in the pie. There's only so much that you can get. You can either take the whole pie, which takes a tremendous budget, typically, a lot higher budget than you might spend initially, and a lot higher bids. Because if you want to do everything, you have to both go with volume with bids, high bids, and high budget to cover it all. Okay. The percentage that you see is how much you got of that. And what's interesting is you would assume that if you had 5 advertisers, or let's say 4 advertisers, everybody got 25% of the pie. No, that's not necessarily true. There can still be impression share left over. You might only get, you might be 4 advertisers and they all got 20%, and there's still 20% left because nobody showed on those. So it's not not the kind of thing that Google's going to show ads no matter what. It's always finite. It's always based on how much budget and bids you have. And if you don't put it out there, Google won't show it. That's the beauty of Google Ads is you put gas in the tank, you're going to go. But if you run out, you stop, you don't put enough in there, you don't push the gas hard enough, you're not going to show and you're going to miss out on some of the pie. And that's how the whole system works.
So Chris, let's talk about search impression share. What's a good number? What's a bad number? Is there such thing as a good and bad number? How do clients ask about that number? In order to be able to talk about that, we do have to just define the other 2 parts of it: loss due to rank, loss due to budget. So search impression share equals 100, or it goes up to 100%. Let me put it this way. All 3 of them will always equal 100%. Search impression share plus search lost IS impression share due to rank plus search lost IS impression share due to budget. So search lost impression share due to rank estimates how often your ads did not show up on the search network due to poor ad rank. This isn't like you showed up number 5 below the organic results. It's not like you showed up number 4 or whatever. It's you didn't show. Your ad didn't show. And that's because of poor ad rank. What is ad rank? Just quickly, it's your bid times your quality score, basically. And that's your ad rank. So we'll talk about how to improve that. But then you have your search lost IS due to budget. And search lost impression share due to budget is simple. It estimates how often your ad did not show on the search network due to low budget. So if the overall market for your keywords, for the area location you run in, for the schedule you run on, that's how I interpret it, is say $100 a day, and your budget is $50 a day, your search lost impression share due to budget is going to be 50%. You're not showing up half the time because you don't have the budget for it.
Yep.
So now that we've defined all 3, do you call stuff good search impression shares, bad search impression shares, and then we can get into how to improve them? Because we may disagree there.
Yeah, I'm going to say one thing. I don't know how you feel about this, but I would say 100% search impression share. I might even go so far as to say 99% search impression share is a bad thing. I don't think that anyone should have 100% search impression share. Do you contest that? What do you think? Does that shock you? Does that surprise you? Where do you?
It doesn't shock me, but I do disagree.
You do disagree? Okay.
Let me say that. Well, because from my point of view, I do work with some aggressive advertisers who do a good job of understanding their cost per conversion and get it to a profitable level, and then they want the most possible. And they have big budgets, and they want to get to 100% impression share. So for me, it depends on the client's goals.
Okay.
I do understand how if the clients you're working with, 99% of them have a fixed budget, and you're trying to get the best cost per conversion possible while still spending the full budget, I do understand that in most cases, if your search impression share is 99% or 100%, you might be overbidding. You might be not targeting enough keywords. That's probably what you're getting at. You're missing. So an example, moving company, say it's a moving company that does office moves. They might be targeting words like office movers, office moving companies. They might be at 100% because it's a small city. They may have never realized that there's also searches commercial moving companies, commercial movers, and therefore they're missing out. So I can see how it can be a sign of, I'm not going to say negativity, but I can see how it can be a clue when the great Chris Schaefer is looking into a campaign and figuring out how to make it better. It's a weird thing to see.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
My issue with 100% search impression share, or even 99%, 98%, is because the way that the ad rank and the quality score system works is you can get just about anything to show up for anything. You can show up on the search for running shoes by advertising the word, like some word that doesn't really work well. You could try and show up for running. When someone does a search for running shoes and you have the word for, broad match car insurance, you could potentially show up for running shoes if you bid high enough, right? And in this world of infinite money, and I put a super high bid, those two things should not be related. But if it's broad match, potentially able to show, you could, in some weird instance, show up for that. And I would say
here's how you can do it. You're running on
a bad thing.
You're running on car insurance. You could show up on some crazy search about someone running on a sidewalk. Now they're suing the homeowner's insurance running on sidewalk.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. That's a better.
It's crazy, but that's still pretty crazy.
It's pretty crazy. You would not want to, but by forcing your bids really high because you want to arbitrarily,
especially with broad.
Yeah, if you're doing broad,
you're broad.
But in a post variant world, we are able to see all kinds of things, even on exact match. So that's why I get really nervous about super high impression shares. If you want to say what's a good number, I'd say most of the time I'd love to sit around 85, 90, 95 is a little scary.
See, something happened to Google Ads managers before I got in the game in 2014, because I've noticed old school Google Ads managers are very search impression share judgment focused. They make judgments on search impression share. I'm just telling you the way I see it.
Sure.
And I've seen it with you. I've seen it with other old school ads managers. And I don't know if it was like the first extra column you all got back in the day. And it was just like the first love, and you've always connected with it since then. But from my point of view, I've never looked at a search impression share number and gone good or bad. First, I have to hear the client's goals.
Okay.
Now, search impression share, search loss due to rank, search loss due to budget, those are answering my questions all the time with clients in terms of they have a goal, we're not meeting the goal, how do we get it? Do we need to bid more and lose less due to rank? Do we need to raise the budget and lose less due to the not having enough budget? Are we overbidding, spending the full budget, and we could drop the bids because we are missing some of the budget? It guides everything. But I've just never looked at it and said good, bad. But I can see how you've managed hundreds of campaigns. You look at the campaigns that work well, you look at the ones that don't. And I can very much see that someone could go, okay, when a campaign is humming and you're getting quality keywords, it ends up in this range search impression share. When you're not overbidding and at 100% search impression share, but you got the right bid level, most clicks, leads for the budget, it sits at this search impression. Is that kind of what you think has influenced?
It's more reflective on what I've seen good campaigns look like and over-engineered campaigns look like. That's probably a better description.
And so what is that number again that you kind of see good campaigns at?
It's typically 80, 85, 90, and then I'd say 80 to 90 is usually where I love to sit.
So a low search impression share of under 30% and a big budget, is that like a red flag to you? We're showing up on a ton of garbage. That's one thing I've learned from you about search impression share. when I see bad search terms, I go bad search terms. But I like how you're able to see that there's going to be bad search terms from a low search impression share. It's not 100% of the time that happens, but that's a good clue. I can see that.
It's a clue that there's something there. A lot of times I've seen campaigns that have super great keywords. They've done a great job of choosing keywords, and then there will be like 2 or 3 broad keywords that get 80% of the spend, and the rest of the campaign is solid, but those keywords get 80% of the spend, and therefore they have really bad search impression share. And so it reflects on the whole thing. So yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of instances when it could be, a minority of keywords causing really bad overall campaign metrics. So it's
So your search impression share columns, they almost serve as the check engine light being on or off.
Ooh, I like that.
It's like if they look bad for you, you're like, okay, check engine light is on, something's up, and I can probably figure it out when I dig deeper.
I love that.
And then if they look good to you, you're like, okay, this thing, I'm going to verify this, but it might be humming when they're all looking good.
When I do an audit or I do training with someone, I make it a personal goal every time is I do not look at their keywords. I will look at the campaigns. I will pull all the columns up and I will make a hypothesis in my mind. I think they are overbidding for broad keywords or very poor keywords. I will look at for example, if I see super low click-through rate, really low search impression share, and super high bids, I'm like, they're trying to force the wrong kind of keywords. They're trying to force a square peg into a round hole. I mean, they have the wrong kind of keywords for the wrong kind of thing, wrong funnel level or something like that. I make that a kind of a challenge every time. I do it a lot because I think that campaign level metrics tells a ton.
So I feel like we could keep going with search impression share forever. I'll just wrap up this section with this, and then we can move on. For people who are advertising out there, I speak for both of us when I say search impression share, search lost impression share due to rank, search lost impression share due to budget. At the campaign level, those are 3 columns. Number 1, you need to understand how they interplay together. It's just simple algebra. They have to equal 100%. And the other thing to get across is they solve your problems. If you're getting good results and you want to get more, search loss due to budget will tell you if you can just raise the budget and keep your bids the same. If you're not able to spend your full budget and your search loss due to rank is really low, that means you're not bidding enough and you could bid more, show up higher, and spend more of your budget. It all kind of plays together. It solves a lot of problems. And I'll say this, Chris, just to close this section out, and I want to see if you agree with this. The number one thing that influences our day-to-day management in a high way, but at the same time, we've talked about it in a very small way on the podcast, are these 3 search impression share columns. In terms of, we use them every single day and they guide tons of decisions in a large way, but we only talk about them in a small way. That's the number one topic that's kind of has that biggest gap in terms of what we talk about on the show. Would you say that's fair?
Oh, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, you're right. We don't talk about it much.
They're big deals.
But if you go back and you had like a little ticker, there would be an unlimited number of ticks of how many times we mention search impression share just in passing. Check your search impression share.
When we're managing accounts, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, we're talking about the podcast. Go back to the list, when we just reference it, and check your search impression share to make sure.
I got you.
Yeah. We mention it all the time. So, yeah.
Yeah, especially on the Q&As.
Yeah. All right. The next area I think we can group together, Jason, because this is a combination of positioning and search impression share. These are new. These came along after the average position disappeared, and we had to start being forced to use absolute top and top percentages. So if you ever had, on a Friday night, search impression share over on one side of the bar and average position on another, and they started talking, and 9 months later, you have search top impression share, which references rank, and search absolute top impression share, which references first position and the amount of pie that you get of that. This is finite details on positioning. And I'll tell you, for me, as someone who does not manage a whole lot of clients that are just absolutely nuts about first position. They just want, they struggle with getting it, their campaigns funded enough. I don't spend a whole lot of time with these. And I know you work with a lot of those gun to your head kind of clients, get me in first position, where are the calls kind of thing.
I love that pressure.
Yeah.
I hate it. I act like I hate it, but I love it. It gets me up in the morning.
I know you do. I know you
love
do.
it.
Because you wouldn't still be doing
and
it.
I love it. And then I love performing. And then I love okay, give me that money. And they're like, oh, you're a little temperamental. You're a little difficult to deal with sometimes, but you're a freaking star. And we need you. And we need you because we're so demanding. And we have to get these results. And they're so competitive.
Wow.
And you're the only one in the planet that can do it. And I'm like, yes, that's good for my bank account. It's good for my ego. I love that pressure. Well, cock that chamber, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Put it to my temple. Right. I need that pressure. I've had it. I've had it in business. They put me down. I've told you on the show before, Chris, gunpoint, get results. And I did it. And I did it.
And
I did it.
So I want to know, how do you...
You can't do it under that. You can't do it. I did it.
I want to know, do you use these? And what do they mean to you? I don't think we necessarily need to break down top impression share versus absolute top impression share. It's all the same kind of idea. But how do you use it? Well, first, maybe you can define it and then explain for me, what does it mean to you?
Don't use those two columns at all.
What? That is... Okay. All right. Great show, guys. That's it. I thought you were going to tell me, oh yeah, I use them. Okay.
We have a very interesting thing going on, and we need some clarification here.
Yeah.
If you go to modify columns and you go to all these things we're talking about are under competitive metrics. What are we talking about here, Chris? Search top IS and search absolute top IS. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, I never use those ever.
Okay.
Those are under the competitive metrics. Now let's bump up to performance, where average position used to be. There's two columns called impression absolute top percentage and impression top percentage. And those are the two I use.
Okay.
Now what's weird, I'm looking at last 30 days on a search campaign. My impression absolute top percentage, not search, just impression absolute top percentage, but it's on a search campaign. It's only search on this campaign. Is 5.8%. My search absolute top IS, which is the column you pulled up, search absolute top IS, it doesn't give me a full number. It just says less than 10%. So that makes sense. One of them says 5.8%. How often do I show up number one on this search campaign? But it doesn't say search in the column. The other column does say search. How often do I show up number one on this search campaign? Less than 10%. That matches up. But what about impression top percentage versus search top impression share? 38% is my impression top percentage. Less than 10% is my search top impression share. What's going on? This is weird to me.
Yeah. Because I see the same.
Those numbers are too different.
Yeah.
But don't they mean that we're going to go through these definitions, and trust me, we'll take it out of the show if I'm just way off here and have the wrong columns. But when I hear search absolute top impression share, and I hear search absolute top impression share and search top impression share, I think about positioning, and those replaced average position.
Right.
How often do you show up number one? How often do you show up top above organic, right?
Yeah.
But then when I hear impression share absolute top and then impression percentage top on a search campaign, I hear the same thing.
Well, yeah, but it's a hybrid between, why didn't you show up? So I mean, when I look at mine, I can see, I might have search absolute top impression share. I see 20%. And then I think, well, why didn't I have more? And then the answer for the other two columns is, well, it was because you didn't bid high enough or because you ran.
No, those are lost. If you have it pulled up, Chris, go ahead and pull it up.
Okay.
This is very strange.
I see what you're talking about. One says
look
lost.
Under performance.
One says lost and the other doesn't say lost. So
no, I'm not talking about lost. Yeah, I'm talking about impression absolute top percentage, impression top percentage, and then the ones you brought up: search top impression share, search absolute top impression share.
Oh.
You want to put all those together on a search campaign you're looking at and see if the numbers make sense for you, because they don't for me.
Okay.
And we'll go through the definitions just to see if I'm off here, but I don't think I am.
So you're looking at Oh, okay. So you're not looking at the. Okay, I'm gonna take the lost ones off.
And let me just define this while we're waiting here. Impression absolute top percentage. Search absolute top. This is what it says in the definition. It doesn't say it in the title, but it says it in the definition. Search absolute top impression rate is the percentage of your impressions. Oh, we just answered it, Chris. We just answered it.
Okay.
When they don't say IS, they tell you the rate. It's what percent of your impressions that you got did you show up above organic in the number one results. And then top would be of the impressions that you got, what rate of your impressions showed up top. And Chris,
okay.
This is why we got to do this show, because you get a little cocky managing accounts, getting great results. Got to read the fine print sometimes. Wow. Step back. Okay, is that gun still to my head? Because I could have people very angry at me right now, Chris.
If someone
do you understand how I could make this mistake?
Yeah. So,
do you understand that?
So if someone is using search absolute top IS instead of impression absolute top percentage, what they're doing is they're telling their client or they're lying to themselves to think, it says I'm only getting 20% absolute top, but in reality, they might be getting 40% absolute top. They're only getting 20% of the market overall. So there's another 80% of the number one positions that they're not showing up for at all. Whether it's lost
now,
to the
here's
budget.
how I cover my rear end. Here's how I cover myself here, Chris. And I'm the greatest AdWords manager on the planet. And by the way, the greatest AdWords manager on the planet still calls it AdWords.
Yeah. Welcome to 2020, Jason.
It's like, if you're the greatest, call it Google Ads. Like, come on. So, Chris, say smart campaign. Come on. So, Chris, here's how I covered myself and how it hasn't been a problem for me. On the accounts where I'm very focused on impression absolute top percentage as my average position replacement being 100%. Hey, by the way, I also have search impression share pulled up, search impression share column, and it's near 100%. So if my impression absolute top percentage, the rate of my impressions where I show up number one is 99%. That doesn't tell me if I'm showing up on 99% of the impressions overall, but because my impression share is 100%, I know I'm good. If you only have the rate columns pulled up, but you don't have the market columns, impression share. So this is a key thing we're learning. When you have all these competitive metric and also the performance columns pulled up, be very focused when it says IS, impression share, because that's telling you
market,
the overall market. Yep. And anything that does not include IS is likely to be telling you your own data.
Your own data. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So it could look
very interesting.
So typically, I think unless you have 100% search impression share, your position rankings IS, your search absolute top IS is always going to look worse and possibly really bad. So you cannot rely on those definitively to tell you where you rank within your own share. You know, so if somebody said, Chris, which one do you use? Do you use search absolute top IS, or do you use impression absolute top percentage? I think I still like impression absolute top percentage because I'd rather know what the real numbers are and not necessarily what it is in relation to the entire market.
That's the thing. I'm just thinking about it now. When we had the great average position, 2.4, 3.7. Oh, it was so fun. It made you feel like you were in such control. Yeah, I'm going to take it down to a 2.8 from our 3.7. That should help us out. That's the way I manage campaigns. Right. We weren't even thinking that impression share was a thing when it came to average position or positioning. It was never even a thought that that's how you look at it. So I think going forward, I'm still a impression percentage, absolute top, impression top percentage, my own data. What percent of the time am I showing up number one on my own data? What percent of the time am I showing up above organic on my own data? And I'm not so much, how do I compare to of all the impressions in the market, IS, what percent am I showing up on number one? Now, those are good to know if you have clients asking those questions. But in terms of, for my own management, I like my own data with the rates, impression percentages. Yep. And then I like seeing the market with my traditional search impression share, loss due to rank, search impression share, loss due to budget column. So that's my go-to set right there, my positioning, and then my market share. Is that what you're going to roll with going forward too?
I think so. I don't see it. I would equate these, now that I know what it is, and we've figured out the gray area here. I would equate search absolute top IS, the market share number, to be
impression share.
Yeah,
IS. Sorry, you said IS.
The market impression share position metrics. I would equate those to essentially auction insights. Like, hey, here's your position in the market. But in reality, I'm not going to manage based on that. It just kind of gives you a 50,000 foot view of kind of where you are and where everyone else is. I mean, it's kind of a wake up call to jump on a campaign that I see 60% in top, absolute top. But then when I look at absolute top percentage in the market, we only show up 20% of the time versus where all the other competitors are showing. So,
and in that case, I would bet you have a lot of search impression share loss due to budget.
Yeah.
If you're showing up high a lot when you run, but how often do you show high compared to the overall market is low? You're probably running out of budget.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty good guess for just about any campaign. Most of the time, budget's always the issue. So yeah. That's okay. Well, okay.
Very clarifying thing.
We learned that it's interesting, but it's not a metric I'm going to use every day. In fact, I'm not even going to put it on my default columns. I'm going to take it back off because it's
the IS ones, the search top IS,
exactly.
Search absolute top
the IS ones. I'm going to take back off because they don't really tell me what I want to know. So
they can kind of make you feel puny because if you don't have a big budget, you're not, and you do want to show up number one or at least above the fold, above the organic a lot. You can do that with your budget you have to work with. But if your budget you have to work with is small compared to the overall market, your search top IS is going to make you look very weak.
Yep.
So Chris, let's just quickly go through, I think, impression absolute top percentage and impression top percentage from the performance area. I guess those are the ones that we were thinking for a second were the IS ones. I would just say those are my traditional average position columns. That's how I manage position basically. Is that what you use?
Yeah, but those aren't, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. Those aren't competitive.
Yeah, those aren't competitive metrics.
It's so weird because their name looks, it's like camouflage. They look so close to this IS stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's really
because that's not a competitive measurement. It's just a ranking measurement, So yeah.
And when it was average position, it didn't throw me off at all. I didn't group them together at all. But now that they're all about impressions and percentages and absolute top and top, it's very easy to confuse.
I think what we learned here is if you're going to talk about competitive metrics, it only includes things that relate to the market as a whole. It has to be impression share related. It cannot be internal. What were your positions? What were your rankings? It has to be market share overall. So, that's interesting.
Yeah,
which makes sense.
So, Chris, search exact. Let's take a break for Uptio, and then I want to close with this exact one.
All right, guys, if you haven't done it yet, you're missing out because this is the tool to use. We both recommend it. They've been sponsors for a long time because so many of our listeners have tried it and stuck with it. Personally, I've heard from a lot of people. Honestly, I do. When I do trainings with people, they say, "Yeah, I'm using Optio. It's great. I like it. Been using it for a while to help me get things done, come up with new ideas." And that's really where it shines. When you're stuck, when you don't really know what to do, staring at that blank UI, that Google Ads UI. I talk about it all the time. It has to be a name for it because when you're stuck staring at the same numbers and when you go back and look at yesterday's numbers, you're like, well, this is exactly the same as what I saw the day before, except it's today's numbers. I don't really know how to interpret them. I need ideas. This is the tool to get ideas. Get things done, get ideas, get advice from a proven software that can help you get it done faster. Optio.com/PSP2. That's PSP2 for an 8-week free trial.
Okay, Chris, now one final column that you pulled up from these competitive metrics, the Search Exact Match IS. So it's got IS, it's impression share, it's market share, it's search, and it's your exact match impression share. So Search Exact Match impression share is the exact match impressions you've received divided by the estimated number of exact match impressions you were eligible to receive on the search network. Exact match impressions are those that match your keywords exactly or were close variants, very important, or were close variants.
Oh, I didn't know that. Or were close variants?
Yes. Or were close variants.
It's like they just undid what the whole name of it was. It's like, these are exact match, but also a close variance. So doesn't mean exact match, but exact in the way that Google Ads interprets exact. So, okay.
So this one has always caught my eye. Now, do we use it? Do I use it every day? No. Do I use it ever? No.
No, I don't.
I never use this column, but it's always something where I see the name and it always intrigues me into, it's very interesting the way they put a column out there for the word exact.
What I could interpret this being is...
What could I be using this for?
So yeah, the way I could see this being useful is kind of like a check engine light kind of thing, okay? I'm imagining, on the campaign I'm looking at, okay, I see a 90% search exact match impression share, okay? So what that means is I'm showing up a lot on the words that I have in there. There's not a whole lot of close variants. You know, I'm going down one tunnel.
Or close variants.
Yeah, well, you're right. I'm not showing up on a lot of reorganizations and, you know, word swapping around, stuff like that, phrases. So I'm showing exactly what I want to do. Now, I imagine another campaign that it might have a lot of broad terms, a lot of modified broad that's in different orders or words in between. I would imagine that search exact match impression share is low. And I'm going to pull one up right now to compare it, but that's my theory. I'm going to try it.
Okay, my thinking here, Chris, now that I'm kind of spitballing here, but I think you want a high search. Well, let me put it this way. I could see it like this. If you have a moving company campaign and you have the word moving companies phrase match in there and the word movers phrase match in there, those are your only two keywords. Your search exact match impression share is going to be very low because those two phrase match keywords are going to bring in a flood of search terms that are not those exact keywords, movers and moving companies. So I think now this is not stuff to focus on month one in a campaign, quarter one. No. This is like long-term stuff. And if I'm trying to judge if I have a client's account set up and I think it's rolling great, but I want to kind of verify that and try to understand for myself, like, hey, I think it's going great. The numbers are great. But are we missing a lot? Could we fine-tune this thing? If I have a big budget and I see a search exact match impression share that's low, that tells me that I need more keywords, that I could be getting more data on the search terms I'm getting by adding them in as keywords and have more control over it. That's where my mind goes, is that it's telling me, it's kind of telling me if I have keywords in there and I'm getting data on those keywords that are my search terms. So I'm getting search terms, those search terms that I'm getting, do I have control over what I'm bidding for them at the keyword level? That's kind of what it tells me. But you have to remember it is impression share. So you have to remember it's related to the overall market.
Right. So that's what my theory of what this tells us is exactly right. I just pulled up, I actually showed you this campaign of several episodes ago, the one that's like all broad match keywords. We did an episode on it, and it was an entire campaign running on broad match keywords. And guess what? this
by choice.
Yeah, by choice. It's working great. They get really good traffic. It's using broad keywords.
Are you doing it like a pro?
Yeah, exactly. I listened to our episode and I did it like a pro. And guess what? Search Exact Match IS, less than 10%. Yet on a campaign with lots of exact match, lots of very precise targeting, like I was looking at before, has a 90% search exact match. So it means exactly what you said. It means I have more precision versus less precision. Control.
More control. To bid,
yes.
More control to see the data at the keyword level and make bid adjustments if you want to make them. But the one thing to keep in mind is, even on the one where you have a very high exact match impression share, if in that case your budget was really small compared to the market, even if you're getting a bunch of exact match clicks, your exact match impression share to the market could be really small. So it's kind of a two-step thinking on this metric because it's impression share.
Yeah, it's true.
If your budget was $10 a day and the market was really $500 a day, no matter what, your search exact match impression share is going to be puny. But if your search impression share is 70, 80% and you're showing up on most of the market, then that search exact match is going to tell you with accuracy, not only for your own account, but in the market, like how much control you're having over the search terms you're getting. I like knowing that column exists. I'm not going to use it every day. But I like knowing it exists.
Honestly, I think for my purposes, I think overall search impression share and the other metrics combined tell me what I need to know. But it's interesting to know what it is. But yeah, I agree with you. It's not an everyday metric that I'm going to check because it's certainly not going to change super fast. It's going to be a slow changing kind of metric, just like search impression share is.
Now, Chris, we're going to jump over to Patreon. This did not happen, but you almost blew up at me. And in Patreon, I want to get to why that could have happened with all this.
Oh.
And why I'm scared of you now.
Oh, good.
And I'm glad you didn't blow up at me. But the blow-ups happen when we don't stick to the script on both sides.
Okay.
But
let's fight. Yeah.
It wasn't intentional. I just need you to know that. It wasn't intentional when I brought up the different performance columns about position.
Well, I got some.
I wasn't trying to step on your toes. I'm sorry.
I got some your mama jokes, and I'm going to talk about your wife, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I'm going to take some blows. I never get Jason apologizing, so I'm going to take advantage of this. I'm going to make him grovel. If you want to see Jason grovel, it's for the price of the very affordable $2. Jason's a cheap groveler.
Or as I like to call it, 50 cents an episode.
50 cents an episode. That's right.
Or as I like to call it, 2 quarters.
50 cents an hour. Is what we're talking about.
We're like slot machines. Just feed us the quarters and we'll keep
50
going.
cents like an hour, 50 cents every 45 minutes. That's essentially what you're getting because we talk for a while on there. But we talk about the business of Google Ads, what it's like to talk to clients, what it's like to close deals. Always some interesting stuff that we don't talk about publicly on air. And, that's...
It's like I don't even know you anymore. Yeah. A world with... the PhD, closed deals,
post variant world,
a postmodern world, whatever.
All right, guys, so catch us there. Thanks for listening. For the rest of you guys that don't want to join us, we'll miss you. See you next week.